Hi there, it's Cooking with Kenny G. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make these no smoker smoky baby back ribs. Now there's probably 1,000 different recipes out there, but I think this recipe is one of the easiest recipes. Now really the investment in time is just 24 to 48 hours of dry rub marinating in the fridge, 3 hours in the oven, and then about 7 or 8 minutes on the grill. You got these beautiful, tasty ribs that your friends and you are gonna love, and they're gonna be so impressed with you. And really, you didn't have to go to a lot of work to do them. As you know, baby back ribs are fairly cheap to buy, so these things are actually a very economical meal with a little homemade coleslaw on there, not too expensive. On this channel, I wanna help you level up your cooking game with videos, pro tips, and tutorials. Make your time in the kitchen more fun and enjoyable, save you some money, and also impress you and your guests with all the new skills that you've learned. To be honest with you, we all gotta eat. If you're new to the channel, make sure to take your spatula, smash that subscribe button. Well, actually maybe just click on it, you don't wanna smash your computer. Check for any links that are mentioned in the description box down below. Don't forget to leave some comments or any questions that I can answer for you. Now make sure you stay around to the end of the video. I will be having some links in there of the recipe for this meal, and for other videos that I've done before too that are a PDF, downloadable, printable, and you can start your own pro level cookbook. So let's put on the apron, grab the knives, fire up the stove, get after it. The first thing you want to do after you get the ribs out of the packaging, if you happen to buy them in a cryovac package, is give them a rinse under cold water. What that'll do is it's going to rinse off any of that excess blood that's on there, and also that kind of funky smell they get when they're in the cryovac. So just going to rinse them off and then put them on a tray, and then we'll go on to the next step. Make sure you use cold water though. Okay, on to the next process. I'm going to show you how to get that membrane that you can kind of see this shiny silver skin that's on the back of the ribs. This is what you're going to want to take off. Now these here are baby back ribs. Name's a little bit deceiving. They're actually not from a baby pig. They're just cut a little bit smaller than a rack of spare ribs. I guess hence the name, if I want to use proper English. Hence the name baby back ribs. So they're about 3 to 6 inches long here. Spare ribs are the full rack that you see with the curve on the bottom and the little flap and the bones. And then there's another rib, which is a St. Louis rib. So the St. Louis ribs are the trimmed spare ribs. So the cartilage off the bottom is cut off and the end flap makes them a little bit more square, a little more uniform. A bit bigger than these though. And then there's also rib tips, which would be the tip of the ribs, or probably some genius marketing to try and use up the little bit of trim that's off there when they do the St. Louis ribs. So what you're going to want to do is get a little knife and a little paper towel here. Just lift up underneath there. You can see that skin that's right there, that very thin membrane. Grab it with your paper towel, just because it's a little bit slippery. And then see that? Just pull that off. Very easily done. Kind of satisfying too. Yeah, that's just going to be discarded. Throw that away. And then, whoops, stuck to the rag. There we go. Throw that away, and then you're going to want to do the same thing on the other side. So just get underneath that membrane, lift it up. Might have to get your fingers in there a little bit. Pull it off, loosen it, grab it with your paper towel, pull it off. There you go, the membrane's gone. Oops, well, there, it's gonna be gone anyway. So now you've got that membrane off there. When you put the dry rub on, it's gonna absorb in there, and it's also not gonna be tough when they cook. So let's get on to the next project. I'm gonna show you how to make the rib rub, apply it onto these guys, and then we're gonna get them in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours. Now we're on to the next step. We're going to make the rib rub. Now this is a dry rub or a marinade for the ribs. Now this one has no acid in it, so you'll be able to actually leave it a little bit longer on the ribs. Whereas if you had an acid that was in there, like say a buttermilk or a vinegar or something like that, you can't leave it on the ribs as long as the dry rub, because the acid will actually affect the texture of the meat. Whereas this dry rub with the salt that's in there and the sugar, it just kind of tenderizes it a little bit over the time and also draws in the flavor. What you're gonna need is a scale. I recommend a scale. You can use tablespoons and teaspoons and I will put those in the link for the recipe. But what I do is I use a scale because it's 100% accurate all the time. I guess it's kind of a chefy thing, not being anal, but this is what I'm doing with it. So first things first, brown sugar. Well, tear your scale to 0, obviously. Brown sugar, I'm gonna put in 120 grams of brown sugar. This is riveting, isn't it? Watching me measure stuff out. There we go, I got 120 there. Now, next thing is paprika. I like to buy all my spices too. Remember I said it would save you some money. What I like to do is buy my spices in bulk, and then I put them in these great little deli containers. If you want, you just cut the label off and put it on there so you remember what it is. Paprika, now I've got 35 grams of paprika going in there. Tear it back to 0. 35 grams of paprika. 35 grams of paprika. 6 grams of black pepper. This is just coarse black pepper. Remember, tear it. If you're not good at math like me, just tear it back to 0 or reset it back to 0. There we go. 15 grams of kosher salt, which is a little bit coarser than regular salt. Back to 0 again. I can't add 15 and 6. Well, I can, but not very quickly. Now 5 grams of chili powder. 7 grams of onion powder. 2 grams of cayenne. Now this one I didn't buy in bulk. I think it's really hard to buy that much cayenne pepper. I don't actually use that much, so I just get in these little containers. 2 grams. It's light, this stuff. There, 2 grams of that, and then 5 grams of smoked paprika. So there's going to be the smoked flavor in this because I'm not actually going to put them in the smoker. Hence the name smokerless ribs. Here we go, boom. Almost like I know what I'm doing. And then garlic, you're gonna want 10 grams. There we go. Okay, now all I gotta do is just mix all that up, and then we're gonna slather it, rub it onto the ribs. Sorry, my bad, totally forgot to mention the brown sugar. Now that was a demerara sugar that I used. It's got a little bit more molasses in it than a light brown sugar or a best brown sugar. So I like to use a little bit of a darker brown sugar. It gives a little more flavor profile to the ribs. Sorry. All right, now it's time to get crack-a-lacking on these ribs. I've got the rib rub made. I've got the ribs ready. They're just out of the fridge. Gonna slap this rub on there. Got some gloves. Now I don't have those really cool black gloves. I didn't have any available. I got these lousy clear gloves, but I just use them because it's easier when I'm rubbing the ribs with the rub. I can just take them off at the end. I don't have to like walk around with rib rub all over my hands and then get it all over the sink and everything. So just gonna tilt the camera a little bit so you can see what's going on here. All right, camera is tilted so you can see the ribs. Now they're a little bit moist still from rinsing them off, but that's okay. I want a little bit of moisture on there. It helps the rub. Oops. As long as you don't throw it all over your counter like I just did there. Gonna mix it up a little bit. Get my hands in there. Now I like to use a spoon when I put it on. The reason is I'm probably not gonna use all of this rub. And if I were to put my hands in there and then rub it and then put them in again, it's gonna contaminate the rub. So just gonna sprinkle it on. It's got nice color in there, you can see that. I know you can't smell it, but it smells wonderful. And don't be shy with the rub. Put lots on there and give it a good rub. Pat it in, rub it in, get it on there. Flip it over, do the back side. Again, see, I would have put my hands in there, it would have made a big contaminated mess. So you don't want to do that because it's going to be used again, this rib rub. All right, get it on the backs there. That membrane's off, so that's going to absorb some of that. Get it in on those rib ends too. In there, need a little bit more, get a little bit more. Oh yeah, that is going to be awesome. All right, rub that in, there we go. Those things are pretty covered. And that's all there is to it. It's really not that big of a deal. Now, if you were to make the rib rub up ahead of time, really all you got to do is crack these things out of the cryovac or give them a rinse, get them rubbed, get them in the fridge. 24 to 48 hours later, you're ready to go. There we are. See, like I said, with the gloves, take them off. Hands are clean. All right, last step, remember? A little bit extra here. I was talking about these fantastic deli containers. Just get rid of the excess uncontaminated rib rub. Put it in there, lid on top. Boom, all the way. Just cover this up with saran wrap. It's going in the fridge. Now I'm gonna put it in for 24, actually I'm gonna put it in for longer than 24 hours. It's a little bit late at night, so I got started a little bit late. So I'm actually gonna put these in for probably about 40 hours. My math right? Anyway, kind of a day and a half. So we'll get these going. It's not gonna affect them. Again, remember I said there's no acid in there. The amount of salt that's in there, it's not gonna pull all the moisture out. It'll actually help tenderize a little bit, and with all the other ingredients that are in there, it's gonna add a little bit more flavor. So I could say 24 to 48 hours. We'll see you tomorrow. It's been about 21 hours for the ribs. Now remember I said they're gonna marinate for about 24 to 48 hours. 48 hours is kind of pushing it. The reason why I am gonna actually cook them tomorrow is it was quite late at night when I put the rub on them, and they take about 3 hours to cook in the oven, just oven time. So I don't wanna be up until 2 o'clock in the morning cooking ribs. So I'm gonna show you what they look like after 21 hours. And then they're gonna go back in the fridge till tomorrow, and then we're gonna cook them up, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is after 21 hours. As you can see along here, it's starting to get a little bit moist from the rub. It's a little bit dry there still, but it's absorbed a fair bit, and it's starting to go inside. So I'm just gonna flip them over, and then I'm gonna let a lot of this liquid here go inside the ribs that way. I'm gonna let some of that meat that's underneath there absorb some of that flavor and the moisture that's gonna go through. So cover those back up. Then I'm gonna put them back in the fridge until tomorrow. Well, it's been almost 48 hours. It's 46 actually. So these ribs have been marinating for 46 hours. Now they can go, like I say, 24 to 48 hours. Wouldn't take them much past 48. What I'm gonna do now is get these ready. Gonna get them in the oven, 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. That's all I have to do, super easy. Gonna wrap them in tin foil, put a little bit of seasoning on them, and then don't really have to do anything for 3 more hours, and then take them out of the oven, and they're gonna go on the grill. So let's get them wrapped up, get that process done. I'll show you that. Now I have the ribs ready to go. I'm gonna put on my ridiculous gloves. Gonna have to invest in some black ones so I look cooler. I've got 4 pieces of tin foil. I'll show you why I need 4. There's 2 racks of ribs here. Gonna get them on the tin foil. Gonna put them curved side up. Move this out of the way so you can kind of see. Beautiful marinade on those. Now I'm just gonna put a touch more marinade on there while they go in the oven, just for a little extra pow of flavor. Just wrap them up. And then that seal that's there, I like to put a little piece of tin foil over top of them. And what that'll do is that'll keep a lot of the steam inside, and that's actually what cooks the ribs, is the outside heat of the oven and then the steam that's created from the ribs cooking and the moisture coming out of them. There you go. See you in 3 hours. Okay, 3 hours have gone by. Time to check these ribs out. Got my ridiculous blue glove again. All right, let's have a look. I'm gonna tilt that camera so you can see these a little bit better. So let's have a look here now. What you're gonna be looking for, those are hot. Yes, that is hot. Still got the chef hands though. Now, oh man, it smells so good. So you wanna make sure, just with the tip of your knife, not too much, just make sure that's nice and soft. You can see, I don't know if you can't see, but you can see it's just a little bit flaky there. Soft to the touch. Tastes great. I'm gonna leave these, let them cool down, absorb some of that moisture that's in there. Then I'm gonna cut them, throw them on the grill. Now, next step, the ribs have been resting for a little while. The reason for that is I don't like to take them directly out of the oven when they're super hot and then cut them. What that would do actually is release a lot of the juices that are inside there. So common practice is to let your meat rest. There's probably a joke in there somewhere. Let your meat rest before you cut it. And what that does is it actually allows the meat to relax a little bit more, and it will absorb those juices that when you cut into something that's hot and just out of the oven, they're just gonna run out of the meat. So let the meat rest half an hour, even to an hour in a nice warm spot. They're gonna go on the grill anyway to be reheated. All right, I like to cut the ribs from the back side. That way I can see where the ribs are. When it's on the other side and the meat's there, sometimes if you don't quite know where the bones are, you're gonna be cutting into a bone and then maybe slicing the meat off the bone. It won't look attractive. Remember, it's all about appearance, like I said. So let's give these a little cut in between the bones. You can cut them as big as you want. I do about 4 bones per rack, but if you want, you can do a full rack or do 6 or whatever you wanna do. So there we go. Put these here. There's a little 2-bone rack there for a mini person. Made for the kids. There, now I'm just gonna wipe up a little bit. I've got the grill on, we're gonna go out to the grill. Give these some grill markings, put a little barbecue sauce on them, finish them up. I'm gonna put these ribs on the grill. It's preheated right now. I'm gonna throw them on there, gonna put a little barbecue sauce. As you can see, it's cold out here right now. It's a cold grill day. Anyway, let's get these things on the grill. Now I saved a little bit of the liquid when I took them out of the tin foil, and then I'm gonna also brush that on them just to keep them a little bit more moist. I'm gonna put the barbecue sauce on near the end. Also didn't mention too, if you don't have a grill, you can do these in the oven. Same thing, just cut them up to the size you want. A little barbecue sauce on there, throw them in the oven until they're hot and ready to go. So let's get these guys on the grill. Little pyrotechnics, little pan spray on there. I don't want them to stick. I'm gonna start with the bone side down first. Get them heating up that way. A little bit of that liquid on there. Just use a silicone brush. Just throw it in the dishwasher afterwards too. That's why I like these things. There we go. Put a little bit of that liquid on there. Keep them moist. Now I'm gonna turn the heat down and just close the lid and let them warm up slowly. I'm not trying to cook these things. They're already cooked and I don't want to burn them. Nobody wants a burnt rib. It's been on for a few minutes. I'm gonna brush a little bit more of that liquid on there. And then I'm gonna brush some barbecue sauce on there. You can use a barbecue sauce of your choice. This one's just a bold barbecue sauce, but you can use whatever you want, a smoky one, use a honey mustard kind of one, an original one like I did, or you can make your own. A little more of that liquid on there, keep them moist. Now the reason I haven't flipped them over yet is I'm gonna put that barbecue sauce on there and let that flavor permeate a little bit more into the meat as they're heating up. And then what I'll do is I'm gonna flip them over, get some grill marks on that barbecue sauce side, flip them over a little bit more again, and then put a little bit more barbecue sauce on them to finish them off. You can get a little bit on the edges there if you want to. All right, close that lid, let them warm up a bit more. Just flipping them over now. You can't quite see, but they're got some nice grill marks on the back side of the rib there. Some of those sugars in there are starting to caramelize too. Oh yeah, looking good. All right, I'm not gonna leave those for too long. I don't want them to burn, but again, I'm just getting some marks on there. Flipping back over, a little bit more barbecue sauce on there. Heat them up again, maybe 2 more minutes. Oh, time to flip these over. Oh yeah. Ooh, look at that. See those sugars in there have caramelized a little bit. You got some nice dark marks. They're not burnt. A little bit more of the barbecue sauce on there. It's just gonna finish them off. They're almost ready to go. A little bit on the edges. Don't be shy on the barbecue sauce. Love me my barbecue sauce. There we go. Remember the heat's on fairly low here. Getting a few marks on them. A little bit of that barbecue char. Okay, 2 more minutes, good to go. Moment of truth. Now because it's so cold out here, I put my tray in there to warm it up a little bit. Got the ridiculous blue glove again. Don't want to burn myself. I do love this glove though. Look at those ribs. Some nice grill marks on them. They're not burnt. Looking so tasty. Look at those. In the house now. Let that burn off a little bit. Well, now the ribs are ready. Time for a little presentation. Just made up a little coleslaw here. If you want, you can give these a little bit of a cut in between. Oh man, look at those. Woohoo! So gorgeous. Then just put them on there. Again, if you want to eat 6 bones or 8 bones, a whole rack, it's up to you. Cornbread would go great with that. And then I'm just gonna hit that with just a touch more of this barbecue sauce. All right, there we go. Beautiful. You're finished. Enjoy those ribs. Thanks so much for watching. Now don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed our time together and you learned something. Remember, like I said at the start of the video, there's probably 1,000 different recipes out there to make ribs. But these ones, you don't need a smoker. You don't need a whole lot of time other than maybe resting time or time in the fridge, time in the oven, but you really don't have to watch these things too much. Makes it super easy. These things are fantastic. I can't wait to tuck into these things, and I'm sure you will too. I hope you learned something on your way to Flavor Country.